Have you ever felt drawn to a kind of power that doesn't shout but still fills a room? Do you ever wonder why the quiet ones, who choose depth over noise, leave the strongest imprint? And if silence could be decoded like a language, would you finally understand the woman who moves by instinct, not applause? Welcome to time-tested advice, where ancient philosophy meets the modern world. I'm your host, Alfred. Let's get started. She is water, silent, deep, and impossible to hold. Today, we unravel a force that isn't loud, doesn't need approval, and doesn't play by the alpha-beta rulebook. She moves through life on her own terms. She observes. She calculates. She chooses solitude over noise, depth over attention, and substance over spectacle. We're talking about the Sigma female, the quiet storm society often overlooks, yet never forgets once it meets her. This isn't a lesson, it's an awakening. If you're drawn to depth, and if you sense a mirror in this silence, then you're exactly where you need to be. Now, let's get into it. 1. The quiet code. She doesn't broadcast, she transmits. The Sigma female doesn't need to project her confidence. She wears it like a frequency. Not everyone can hear it, but those who can feel it deeply. Unlike many who crave validation through performance, her very existence is her statement. She doesn't explain herself. She simply moves. She's not silent because she lacks thoughts. She's silent because she's refining them. Her presence doesn't scream. It resonates. That's the code. She can walk into a room and change its temperature without saying a word, not because of arrogance, but because of presence. She doesn't fight for space, simply exists in a way that claims it. You'll never find her oversharing on impulse. You won't see her competing for attention because her power doesn't live in how many eyes are on her. It lives in how little she needs to be seen to matter. She transmits energy, not ego. That's why people don't understand her, and that's exactly why they can't forget her. In conversations, she's never the loudest, but she's often the one who gets remembered. When she speaks, it's not about volume, it's about velocity. Her words carry weight because she doesn't waste them. This is the quiet code. A life lived on signal, not noise. 2. Her solitude isn't empty, it's engineered. Most people are terrified of being alone, not the Sigma female. For her, solitude is not the absence of company, it's the presence of clarity. Every moment alone is curated. Every silence is designed. She doesn't fill the void with distractions. She turns it into a studio of self-discovery. She doesn't. For people to recharge her, she charges herself. Others run from silence because they fear what it might expose. She walks into it because she knows that silence is where the real answers live. This isn't escapism. This is architecture. She builds her inner world like an artist, designs a sculpture, chipping everything that isn't aligned with her truth. People assume her distance means she's cold, but she's not cold. She's composed, she's filtering, she's healing, she's regenerating. This solitude also becomes a test. Only the deeply secure can be near a Sigma female and not misread her silence as rejection. Only the wise can recognize that her space is not a wall. It's a boundary. She doesn't isolate to punish. She isolates to protect the sacred ecosystem of her energy. Solitude becomes her fortress, her lab, her sanctuary. She steps back, not to disappear, but to refine. And when she returns, she doesn't explain where she's been. She just glows differently, because solitude for the Sigma female isn't absence, it's transformation. 3. No tribe, no drama. The power of non-attachment society loves to box women into roles. The leader, the follower, the rebel, the nurturer. But the Sigma female refuses all roles that weren't chosen consciously. She doesn't belong to a tribe because she doesn't need one to feel whole. She isn't antisocial. She's selectively social. She may connect deeply but rarely widely, while others chase belonging. She seeks alignment. And when alignment doesn't show up, she walks alone without bitterness. This is not detachment rooted in pain. This is freedom rooted in clarity. She doesn't cut ties out of spite. She simply doesn't keep connections that dilute her peace. People often confuse her independence with arrogance. But what they fail to understand is that she isn't avoiding people. She's avoiding unnecessary noise. She knows that not every connection is meant to stay, not every smile deserves access, and when conflict arises, you won't see her diving into the chaos. She doesn't argue to be right. She removes herself to stay sane. That's her strategy. Non-engagement as protection. Silence as disarmament. Distance as detox. The Sigma female lives by one quiet law. If it costs her inner peace, it's too expensive. No validation is worth that. No tribe is worth the drama. Where others find identity and groupthink, she finds it in self-trust. Where others perform to fit in, she dares to be regardless of the room she walks into. This kind of non-attachment isn't passive. It's deeply powerful, because only those who can stand alone can truly choose who stands with them. 4. Emotional alchemy. She feels deep, but reveals little. Still waters run deep, but for the Sigma female, it's more than depth. It's emotional mastery. She feels everything. She's not numb. She just doesn't leak. Most people wear their emotions on their sleeves, hoping someone will soothe them. The Sigma female wears hers like inner jewelry, private, precious, and for public display she feels everything: the hurt, the joy, the disillusionment. But she's an emotional alchemist. She turns chaos into clarity, heartbreak into growth, rage into fuel. People mistake her calm for emotional detachment. In reality, it's intense self-regulation. She doesn't react because she has nothing to prove. She doesn't seek sympathy because she's busy transforming pain into strength quietly, privately, on her own terms. She's not one to vent to 10 people. She processes, journals, meditates, or simply sits with it until it teaches her something. And when she cries, if she does so in a space that feels sacred, because to her, vulnerability isn't about exposure. It's about choosing who's earned the right to witness her storms. People call her mysterious. She isn't. She's just discerning. She knows that emotions are sacred data, and sacred things aren't meant to be scattered. She doesn't withhold out of pride. She holds back out of respect for her own depth. In a world that encourages oversharing as a form of connection, she reminds us of something more ancient, more grounded. You don't have to be seen to be felt. You don't have to speak to be understood, at least not by everyone. Only those who are fluent in silence will ever hear her soul. 5. Unfollowed and unbothered. The Sigma female doesn't move for applause. She doesn't perform for algorithms. She exists outside the validation economy, where likes, follows, and attention are currency. She doesn't need the world to see her to know her worth. Her value isn't up for auction. While others obsess over being visible, she's refining the art of being intentional. Her silence isn't her weakness, it's her filter. If you can't handle her quiet, you were never meant to access her truth. This is the woman who can go off-grid for weeks, months, even years, and return more. Evolved, more grounded, more whole than ever, not because she disappeared, but because she chose presence over performance. Her digital footprint is light because she doesn't equate existence with exposure. She doesn't ghost. She liberates herself from noise. She doesn't need to announce a break. She simply vanishes, and only those with real connection feel the shift. This refusal to play by social media's Hunger Games doesn't mean she's hiding. It means she's healing. It means she's living. It means she's prioritizing energy over optics. And in relationships, this trait is magnetic to some and maddening to others. The insecure demand constant visibility, but the sigma. She gives space. She is space. If you can't trust her silence, you never truly respected her presence. This level of calm disrupts people. They project, they assume, they chase, and still, she remains unfollowed and unbothered, a woman in love with her own rhythm, not the noise of the crowd. If you're enjoying this video, make sure to leave a like, comment, say hello, and consider subscribing to our channel. And if you'd like to support our channel further, become a member by clicking the Join button below. 6 conversations with herself hit different. The average person fears being alone with their thoughts. The Sigma female, that's where she thrives. Her inner dialogue is richer than most surface-level conversations. She's not lonely when she's alone. She's in conference with her higher self. This is a woman who questions everything, not to be cynical, but to be certain. She doesn't accept the world at face value. She peels back layers. She studies nuance. She probes her own beliefs just as fiercely as she questions society's. That's why superficial small talk bores her. She's not interested in talking just to kill silence. If she speaks, it has purpose. If she listens, it's because she's searching for meaning, not noise internally. She's always evolving. Her solitude is not a void. It's an incubator. Ideas, truths, unlearning, all of it happens in those quiet, invisible hours when no one's watching, and because of this depth, her standards are high for people, for conversations, for energy. She's not arrogant. She's just conscious of how precious time and words are. To outsiders, she may seem distant or too intense, but what they don't see is the richness of her internal life, the dialogues that shape her, the insights she births, the emotional self-checks she conducts like rituals. She's not emotionally unavailable. She's just emotionally accountable. Before she brings her heart to someone else, she runs it through her own filters. Before she opens up, she asks herself, does this space deserve my truth? Does this person meet me where I really live, or just where I perform? Her mind is her sanctuary. And if you ever get invited into that space, understand it's not a room, it's a universe. 7. She doesn't chase, she chooses. In a world that rewards the loudest pursuit, the Sigma female is still. She doesn't chase attention, opportunities, or people. She attracts by being so in alignment with herself that anything misaligned simply fades romantically. This is especially misunderstood. People assume she's cold or disinterested, but the truth is she's selective, not just about who she lets in, but about energy she allows to orbit her peace. She doesn't fear love. She just refuses to beg for it. She knows what it costs to give herself away too soon, too fast, too fully, so she doesn't run after anyone. She chooses calmly, carefully, consciously. You'll never find her romanticizing chaos. She doesn't see inconsistency as exciting. She doesn't misread emotion, unavailability as mystery. She doesn't play games because she isn't playing. If someone aligns with her peace, she meets them with intensity, not performance, not obsession, presence. And if they don't, she lets go without drama, no late-night texts, no silent treatment, no revenge. Just distance, the most honest answer she can offer. She understands one powerful truth. You don't have to chase what chooses you with clarity. She'd rather walk alone than run after what wasn't meant for her. That's not fear, that's emotional maturity. Even in friendships or business, she doesn't audition, she doesn't pitch her worth. If you can't feel it, you're not her audience. To the unaware, her nonchalance looks like disinterest, but to the wise, it's the signature of a woman who knows exactly what she brings to the table and will never beg for a seat at one that doesn't respect it. She doesn't chase because her life is already full. She chooses because her peace is non-negotiable. 8. Her boundaries are spiritual, not social boundaries. For the Sigma female aren't rules. They're rituals. They're not about control. They're about protection, not from people, but from energy that's out of harmony with her soul. You won't always see her drawing lines with words. She doesn't always say no, but her silence will say it for her. Her absence becomes her boundary. Her shift in energy becomes the answer. To her, boundaries are not walls. They are filters. They separate what feeds her from what depletes her. They're not meant to keep love out. They're meant to let only real love in. She's not confrontational unless necessary. She won't argue about what she's allowed to protect. And if you mistake her calm for weakness, you'll quickly learn she enforces her boundaries with absolute clarity, not cruelty. She doesn't people please. She peace protects, and that means she's not afraid to disappoint others if it means staying loyal to herself. You won't guilt her into giving more than she has. You won't manipulate her with silence, pressure, or shame, because she's already had those battles with herself, and she's not going back. This kind of boundary setting isn't learned in books. It's forged in the fire of experience. She's been drained before. She's poured into black holes before. Now she pours from a place of overflow or not at all, and those who don't understand her space, who take her need for distance personally, often reveal themselves in that discomfort, and she lets them go without rage, without bitterness, just grace. Because her boundaries aren't a reaction. They're a preparation for the life she's building. They're not rules for others. They're vows to herself. 9. Her life is her art, and she's her only audience. The Sigma female doesn't live for claps. She doesn't dress, speak, or move for anyone else's gaze. Her life isn't a stage. It's a canvas, and she is both the artist and the masterpiece. Every decision she makes is intentional. Every space she walks into, she reads like a poem, and the version of herself she's outgrown gets buried with grace, not regret. She doesn't need to announce her evolution. She becomes it quietly, powerfully on her own time. Where others post to be perceived, she creates for expression. Where others live to impress, she lives to align, not for the feed, for her frequency. Her mornings aren't dictated by trends. They're built around what feeds her soul. She may live simply, but her depth is anything but. She could be in a crowded city or an empty cabin. The power remains because the location doesn't define her energy. Her intention does. She's not chasing aesthetics. She's crafting essence, and the result, a life that doesn't need to be explained. It's felt, it's sensed, it's respected by those wise enough to recognize artistry when it's lived, not performed. And the most radical, she's her only audience. She doesn't need to be seen to feel fulfilled. She validates her own becoming without applause, without spectators, without noise. This is what happens when a woman lives for her own reflection, not for the illusion in other people's eyes. 10. The paradox of power in silence. Power is often associated with noise, with declarations, commands, visibility, but the Sigma female defies that definition. Her silence is her strength, not because she has nothing to say, but because she's wise enough to know. When saying nothing says everything. She's not here to convince, to compete, to conquer. She's here to create, and creation doesn't scream. It builds. When she walks away, you feel it. When she speaks, you listen, because she speaks from awareness, not impulse. She's not quiet out of fear. She's quiet because she's processing, observing, understanding. In conflict. Silence is not weakness, it's strategy. In love, her stillness is not detachment, it's depth. She knows the loudest person in the room isn't always the most powerful. Often it's the most disconnected. She knows power that has to prove itself is already fragile. Her power is subtle, spiritual. It walks softly, but it echoes for miles. This is the paradox. Her silence threatens the insecure, but it heals the wise. If this feels like the mirror you've been missing, if you've always sensed a deeper rhythm, a quieter power rising in you, then the power of her distance isn't just a book. It's your language finally spoken. Let this be the moment you stop apologizing. For your silence, let this be the page where you meet yourself again, not as the world expects you to be, but as you actually are, wild, still, whole. Take your power back, one quiet breath at a time. You weren't meant to echo the world. You were meant to rewrite the frequency. The Sigma female isn't a trend. She's a reality the world hasn't learned how to read yet, but you read her, you felt her, because maybe you are her. Until next time, keep your edge sharp, your silence sacred, and your wisdom sovereign. 11. The unstated standard. She holds a bar no one else can see, and her life naturally rises to meet it. She doesn't announce rules. She embodies rhythms, sleep, study, training, creating, that turn consistency into quiet dominance. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. I'm your host, Alfred, and I read every comment.